How you going, champions? I think we're going live. Right, so what have we got today? Got the good old Peavey, mate. It's one of the most common amps you find around. I remember these things being all over school, and you know, they were missing half their knobs and crackled and made weird noises. So this one's in for, actually, I don't know what. A guy dropped it off and didn't tell me. So we'll suss it out. Let's just fire it up to begin with. The input jack's a little bit loose there. So this is the Envoy 110, fully solid state thing with a spring reverb. It's powered up. No smoke, that's good. No massive amount of hum. Bit of interference from my phone. And the Zellweger tones someone was asking about in a previous stream, that's out. Hear that? That's the interference from the signal they inject in our power line to turn on and off our hot water heaters. It's a pretty interesting system, you should look it up. But anyway, alright, so we've got nothing plugged in at the moment. Doesn't seem to be any very dramatic noises. There's a thrash button. Fuck yeah. Crackly on the reverb knob there. So let's set everything at 12 o'clock. Oop. 60 dB pad, that was a bit angry. Let's set everything at 12 o'clock and we'll have a listen. Nothing. Nothing at all. Very, very slight signal there. That's on the second channel. So something's not happy. Stand the thing up, get access to the rear panel. How you going, Spectrum? Sorry about the stream. YouTube is like totally retarded at the moment. I'm not sure what the deal is there. I set a stream to start at a certain time, set it as monetized, and I set it as not for kids. It comes up as non-monetized. This video is for kids. And then there was no way to start streaming software. It crashed, and then YouTube crashed, and then I couldn't delete the stream, and it's just absolute nightmare. So we've got a preamp out, but we've got no power amp in like they do on some models, so we can't just plug in and have a go at the power amp. But we know the power amp's working because we can hear the crackle from the knobs and all of that jazz. So let's power it down. And take her out of the box. Try not to destroy my whole workbench in the process. So it's just come 6:15 AM here. We're waiting for Big Clive to do his Patreon stream so I can jump on that and have a chat. In the meantime, we'll see how much we can get done here. Alright, so it's got a reverb connector there. Can be removed from that end, that's fine. It's got a hardwired power cable, so we'll remove that little saddle thingy. Typical Peavey budget driven construction, but pretty effective. It's got it where it counts. Alright, so we'll get rid of the box. Zoom in a bit for you. That's the construction. So single board, you got the two output devices here, you got a thermal switch. You've got power supply up this end, input stage up this end. I've only got what, 2 chips on the whole thing. The rest is discrete transistors. Very basic, very budget driven, but they tend to last a pretty long time, these earlier Peaveys. This is sort of a mid-range Peavey, probably mid-2000s. I don't reckon their new stuff's going to last that long. Oh, I just need one block. So what we'll do, we'll just isolate the speaker connector so we don't short it out. It's just hardwired there. Probably just connect my little speaker terminals to it so I can plug the speaker in. Got a couple of these little adaptery thingies, and all the different types that you encounter in different amps, and it just interfaces with a jack. So that's what my speaker under the bench is. So we use little spade connectors for this one. They're not insulated, so I'll chuck a bit of electrical tape over that. Should do the job. Should say Meridian. Yeah, Meridian MS. Made in USA. I heard off a reasonably reliable source that China created a province called UK US. So they can say built in UK US. What a bunch of... That's the state of things. Yeah. Your country makes such crap that you've got to masquerade as another country just to sell your stuff. If it's true. Could be bullshit, I don't know. Wouldn't put it past them. Alright, one of them insulated. And 2 of them insulated. So we'll just give the thing a look over first. I'm guessing it's probably going to be cracked solder joints somewhere. Did hear that jack a little bit crackly, but there was no evidence at all of the signal coming in. Something's coming in though, because you could hear that little bit of leakage. So what I might do is see if I can find a schematic, and we'll go from there. There's every chance it could be something simple like the preamp out jack as well. So what I'll do, I'll just plug the test speaker in. Give it some signal again. We'll just give it a bit of a poke around. So we're pumping a fair bit more signal in there, and we are getting a tiny bit of signal, but that's maxed out. Now, it's the second channel, which is got a shit ton of gain, so that's why it sounds louder there. Apparently, from the customer report, the reverb's not working too, so we'll suss it out last, because it might just need a new tank or some repair to the tank. So, let's put it back on the clean channel. Just check initially that it's not the, sorry, I'm struggling to speak, it's very early. It's not the preamp out shorting jack. No, it doesn't appear to break the signal anyway. Oh, here we go. Scared the piss out of me. So it is, it looks like it's just the input jack, so we'll have to remove the board to get access to that and just see if it's actually lifted the traces off the board, which it likely has. If we still had problems there, what I would have started to do is go over all the voltages and everything and just check that every stage is getting power correctly and all that kind of jazz, but just have a poke around first, and 9 times out of 10, particularly on these models, it's something mechanical. Mechanical. Yeah, it does look repairable. These earlier Peaveys generally are. The later ones, where everything's DSP, not so much. So if you're going to buy an amp that you want to last a long time, Lyle just had a video on this. If you want it to last a long time, instead of basically being a subscription to the amp, because your subscription runs out in 12 months and the amp fails and you got to buy a new subscription. That's basically what they are, like phones. Instead of one of them, do you really need 1500 amp models and, you know, every effect under the sun and all of that, or do you just want an honest to goodness amp and use like pedals for your different sounds, or do you just want a really good single sound amp, like a, you know, something for blues or whatever? If you're gonna get something cheap, there's a lot of amps out there that are really good at doing one thing, and a lot of them are really reliable. And there's a lot of amps out there that claim to do everything. So they do nothing well, they do everything mediocre, and they often don't last a long time. So you don't get attracted to every feature under the sun, because often that's how you get a really unreliable device. So we've got those weird Peavey pots with the small shaft. They're like 4.75 shaft or something instead of 6 or 6.3. And they've got a strange little 1130 to 1130 second nut on them. They're really small. I don't know where they get them from or who makes them. I haven't seen them really anywhere else. Behringer V amp gets close to what? Close to failing in 12 months. I have had a few of the V amps in. I can't remember what was wrong with them, but it wasn't anything major. I think it was similar to this. It was just like failed solder joints or whatever. but their later ones are getting worse and worse quality. I don't allow any bearings and stuff in the shop anymore. Their older stuff, before they figured out how to make it disposable like it is programmed to fail in 18 months. It actually takes quite a bit of skill to make something fail in exactly 18 months. Before they had that skill, they actually overbuilt everything somewhat. They'd have things like speaker failures and whatever, but they weren't making the speakers, they were outsourcing them. Things like their early bass amps and stuff, they were just class A, B, pretty chunky transformers, toroidal. There wasn't a hell of a lot to go wrong with them. Shitty caps, like everything, but yeah, your first one lasted 18 years, but that's 18 years old. They built them different back then. The ones they build now would not last 18 years, I hate to tell you. If they last 18 years, I'm a fucking monkey. So, like all these things, generally Peavey make these connectors so they only go on one way. However, sometimes they go on more than one way, like this one, for example, that one. That one is critical because that's the mains. This one's a switch, so it's not really critical, it's just single pole, single throw. This one here is your bipolar supply, so that's not critical either because it's got the center tap in the middle. Doesn't matter which way it is. So what we do, even if you think it's not important, just take a photo. Doesn't hurt, eh? It's pretty easy. And then you can make a wanky social media post about it later. Look what I fixed. Right, so I'll undo these jacks as well. Generally you can get to the plastic ones just with your finger holes. That one's missing a nut anyway, so I have to put a freshie on there. They look like Cliff style. Maybe nitric, I'll check that out. Disconnect this one. Disconnect this one. Oh, pulled it out. Awesome. Have to repair that. Your new one's been permanently on for 2 years. What, like you never turn it off? Why not? See if we can just swing it up, get it out of the way. Yeah, crack solder joint's alright. It hasn't lifted the pads, it's actually the ground that's let go. So you see that? I don't know what it looks like from the streaming end, but you got your pad and then there's a little, you can see the actual pin. It's a dry solder joint, so we'll fire up the soldering station. That's likely all that's wrong with this thing. All the pot solder connections look shiny and nice. I think this thing's pre-lead free requirements because all the solder joints are really nice and shiny. You find the lead free stuff's got more of a cloudy sort of look to it. So we'll just get stuck in and get this one done. There's no need to quote if it's under the first hour labour. That's a condition of my repairs. If I can fix it within the bench fee, which covers 1 hour, we just go ahead. Keep stuff moving, you know. So we'll get rid of the old solder. G-DEC, it's a common thing that I hear a lot. My insert model amp here has been great for 10 years. Yeah, well, you're probably lucky, man, because I see hundreds, literally hundreds of that model fail. Not talking about your particular model, but like, for example, the Blues Juniors. Some guys will be like, oh, mine's been problem free for 10 years, so therefore that amp is brilliant. Well, no, because they are happening, they are failing. So you've just been lucky. You might have different use case scenarios. You could have just got one built on a Wednesday and everyone else got one built on a Friday. So, as they say, doesn't mean there's not fundamental problems with the design, but you've also got to bear in mind the budget of them too. You're not going to get an heirloom amp for less than $1,000. What do you need? Solder sucker? Damn straight. For repair anyway. If I was just building stuff, I probably wouldn't even own one. You've got 5 and they're okay. Okay, well they never fail then. Sorry, my mistake. Get real, come on. Well, might put a new one in. I've got some here. Some monos. Just look at the pin length, because these pins look a little bit shorter than I remember. Yeah, so these are Rean, UK, R-E-A-N, which I believe became associated with Neutrik or Neutrik, or however you want to say it. These are Cliff, so different brand but same layout. You can see they're almost identical there. Got the same locating pin, same pin setup. Looks like the terminals on this one are a little bit wider. You can see those ones are pretty corroded. These nice and shiny. So I think for the sake of a couple of bucks, also the pins. See, there's a little stopper there on this one, whereas this one, the stopper's sort of up inside the plastic. So this will penetrate through the PCB a little bit further, and then I'll be able to fold them out a little bit. Just iron up that they pin locations and everything are the same. You can see this one's got more thread on it too. Yeah, everything looks the same. Sweet as. We'll use a new one. That will allow us to just bend the lead over ever so slightly and maintain a little bit more mechanical support. So the thing with keeping your amp on all the time is you're not thermal cycling it, and assuming that if you keep your amp on all the time it's always plugged in means you're not plugging stuff in and out. Thermal cycling can cause a lot of problems in amplifiers that use ball grid array, any sort of modern semiconductors with large packages, because that package expands and shrinks all the time, and it can crack solder joints eventually. Then you've got the flip side of that, where your capacitors have a certain lifespan and at a certain temperature. So when you have it on all day, you're chewing up those hours. So it's sort of a trade-off. use something a bit more sensible there. A little bit of angle to them just so they sort of anchor it in there a little bit better. Solder that in. Solder's not taken to that pin. Just give it a bit of a clean. Be a bit of shmoo or plastic stuck to it or something. That is better. Alright. Pop it back in. Everything lined up. Just pop two of the pot nuts back on for now. And heatsink screws. We'll just give it a quick test. Flip her over. Faultless guitars and amps. Yeah, I get quite a few of them, but it's slowed down recently. It used to be, yeah, about 50% here as well, but I'm starting to think that not a lot of new ones were purchased in the last couple of years. Like maybe they're not as popular as they used to be. And as for the older ones, I think we've just repaired them all. Being in Australia where the population isn't huge, you can sort of get to a point where you fix all the local stuff and it's fixed now, and if you fix it well, you probably don't see it for another 10 years. So in a small town, you probably do yourself out of business after a while. You've got to move on to the next town, like a gambler. Everyone knows about you and they all come with their pitchforks. Alright, so we've got the heatsink cinched down again. Pop the block under it. We'll just put the nuts back on that back one, just so it doesn't walk away. Short out to the chassis. So you can see at the back there with those jacks that they are using. There's only like one thread poking out through the chassis, one or two. It just hangs on, but if that panel was any thicker, you'd probably have problems. you run into those problems with Marshall plexi builds. They use those Marshall style jacks, but often there's not enough thread there to hold on. You got to make sure you get the right brand, otherwise she's only holding on by a tooth, and you do it up just by hand and you can rip the plastic thread off. So let's fire it up. Speaker back in. Don't know where any of the knobs are at now because I took the knobs off. Just set them all at 12 o'clock again in case I shifted it. Volume down. Fire it up. Just check everything's plugged in. Yeah, cool. Little bit of hum there, that's literally from the transformer itself, not from the speaker. It's a tiny little transformer, it's probably right on its limit. There we go. Second channel. A little bit crackly, we have to just give them a bit of a clean, but all the switches seem to be working. Gain just gives you more gain, stupid amounts of gain. Thrash just gives you a scoop. Remember my Anthrax riffs. Like I say, stupid amounts of gain. It's good fun though, reminds me of high school. Back to clean. Pretty nice sounding amp, really. That's everything flat. 6dB pad, that's sort of like plugging into the second jack on a Fender amp. It's a bit darker as well. It's probably what that's simulating. I have to have a look at the schematic, know exactly what's going on, but just get some sparkle happening. Sparkle, sparkle! Sounds pretty good, like, I'd be happy with that as a kid. You can stick all your choruses and your reverbs and your delays and shit up your ass, and it's got a reverb in it, but it's just a tank, traditional. So that's the next thing we'll check. Still got it in the bench speaker. I'll just see if this cable reaches the reverb connector. Probably not. I'll just remove that screw. Yeah, it sounds really nice here too. That's going through a Celestion G1275T, whatever the one in the 1968 quads is. I broke my own rule here. I've forgotten the label which way the reverb tank was plugged in. Well, it's a 50-50, it's either going to work or it's not, eh? Zoom out a bit for you. So we've got the grounds in the center. That's a ground there. Send. We've got pin 1, which is the output. So that would go to the input of the tank. So let's try it that way. Fire it up. So that's humming now. But that's just because the tank's right next to the transformer. The way I've set it on the bench. Just check that reverb sounding like it should be. No, it's not. Turn it around. Bit of oscillation there while it was half out. No reverb. Alright, so we'll look at the reverb tank. Held on by 2 screws. I'll just grab a bigger screwdriver. Stupid o'clock, yeah. What time is it here? 6:49 AM. It is. Alright, so the springs look intact. Ah, it's got a sticker in it. From the competition. Fender Rumble. There you go. So we've got the tank out. Just check the wiring. Often it fractures where it's soldered. This one's got connectors on the elements themselves. So we'll just unplug this and determine if the coils have continuity. Oh, it's really tight on there. It's probably never been undone. A little bit of corrosion. Jesus. Of course, you only see the real tight, impossible to undo stuff when you're doing a live stream. Never just when you're by yourself in the shop. Everything works when you do that. Let's move that back a touch. Right, set to ohms. I've got a bit of a corrosion on the solder there, so I'll just break through that. 100 ohms. And open circuit. Alright, so we know we were getting hum, so I dare say that the output coil is okay. And this one's open. Yeah, so I'm touching directly to the terminals there, and there's nothing. So, open coil. That one's glued. So I don't hold much hope out of being able to repair it, but you know, you just buy new ones of these. So what I'll do is I'll give them an invoice for the work done so far, getting the thing to actually make signal again, and I'll give them an option to replace this tank with just a modern Accutronics or a, you know, Belton one or whatever. And they can pick or choose. They can either just live without reverb, and if the amp's fine without it, you could use a reverb pedal, which in my opinion most of them sound better anyway, or they can get this replaced. So while we've got it on the bench, we'll just check that the idle current of the output stages is roughly equal. And we'll give the pots a clean. So we're expecting a couple of millivolts, across the emitter resistors. This is a good way to slip and fuck shit up, so be careful. 15 millivolts one side, 0 on that one, that's something else. 16 millivolts that side, so yeah, not dramatically out. We've done all this without a schematic. I could download the schematic and show you everything, but these all have pretty similar topologies, so not a hell of a lot of need to do that. So we'll just check the ripple. So it's the AC, that might help. 5 millivolts, 6 millivolts, 150 millivolts, that's probably supplying the output devices. And that's probably your bipolar supply because of the way the caps are oriented. So, biggest ripple there is about 150 millivolts, and that's, you could consider that like a valve amp on the B+, that's what's powering the output stage, and it's pretty quiet, so no dramas. Just got that crackling to contend with on the pot, so we'll just give that a clean and we'll put it back with its box. Yeah, they're pretty cheap, Matt. It's pretty amazing that they can make a reverb tank for that money. Having said that, some of the sellers on, you know, eBay and stuff, they're selling for like 120. I think people just don't know any better. They just buy it, but you know, you go on CE distribution or something, the same tank's like 20 something bucks. So there's a lot of people just hoping that you don't look elsewhere. People are just really hoping that you don't notice things. Yeah, the IC caps, they have sort of different levels of quality, I believe. So when you do a massive order off a company, often you're ordering the exact specs of everything and you've got a price that you want. So I've got a feeling, because I've seen IC caps in Peaveys that are fine, 20 years old. You know, you want to replace them anyway, but if the budget's limited, just deal with it if it's an issue further down the run. But there was something about the ones Fender got that was just a bad bad batch, and I don't know how many batches there were, but there was probably a good 10 years there where like every one of them was leaking crap. So alright, I'll finish that one off cam. We'll keep it flowing, keep it interesting for you lot. So next one. Fender Frontman. Right, what's the assessment on this? It's got a sheet on it. 2 test and assess, so no description of fault. Besides it being pretty dirty. Speaker terminals are reasonably tight. I'm just going to fire it up now. I'll just have a quick check over. Typically what happens on these ones, see if I can get it on the bench. Nah, it's too heavy. What happens on these ones is they're something fails upstream. Usually the DC power supply, because it's got the same stupid regulation as most of the Fenders, and that makes all the op amps, because they're all every stage is directly coupled in this amp. There's some stages which probably should have been capacitor coupled, but they're DC coupled instead. And what happens when you drop a rail to an op amp is it swings hard to one of the rails. So it might swing to 15 volts or minus 15 volts, and the output swings to it as well. So the output stage gets delivered 15 volts, and it's more than happy to amplify that. It thinks, okay, well, you want me to amplify 15 volts DC, I'm happy to do that, and it sends it to the speaker. The speaker gets exposed to that DC, amplified by the output devices, and it burns it open circuit. Speakers rely on movement to cool down. You can't just give them DC voltage, it burns them out. So you've got a buggered amp, and then the amp buggers both of your speakers, or it'll bugger one of them. I think these are in series, so yeah, so one of them will probably go before the other, and you might be lucky with at least one of them might have lived, but yeah, wouldn't count on it. So there's no weird hums, it's only drawing 20 watts. See if we can get some signal out of it. And play Lyle Caldwell's riff, eh? Ooh. Okay, so that's just the volume knob. Oh wow. Sounds good, doesn't it? I think that might be a speaker issue. Yeah, that to me sounds like a buggered speaker. So, let's power it down. We'll see if there's DC on the output. Normally, if there is DC on the output, you get a big thump when you turn it on. And probably hum as well. So you switch it straight off again. But this might have already done the damage to the speakers, so let's just quickly test them. Or yank it up on the bench. Yeah, it's my morning workout. Alright, so you got negative. Just undo these clips. See what's going on. So you got positive to negative. Positive goes to that. So they're parallel, but they're out of phase with one another. So someone's unplugged it and probably plugged it back in the wrong phase. So they are paralleled. So yeah, if it was delivering DC, it would have had the ability to blow both the speakers. It's, sounds like your neighbour cutting his grass, yeah. Does he have one of those stupid electric mowers? My neighbour out the back, I don't know what's wrong with him, but he started mowing the lawn at like midnight. There's something so unsettling about someone mowing the lawn at midnight. It's like hearing a cockatoo screech at midnight. It just shouldn't happen, and something's wrong. It's like Shakespearean shit with like owls flying backwards and stuff. So, back on track. Let's check the speakers. 6.8 ohm, 2.2 ohm, 6.8. So it's supposed to be 8 ohm. That's supposed to be 8 ohm. So to me, generally off past experience, 6.8 is about what you'd expect for an 8 ohm speaker. That's DC resistance, not impedance. And that 2 ohms is suspicious. Suspicious. So let's feed it with a signal, Jenny. Just while we're there. Cables going everywhere. That's the one. Got this little one. It's got B and C on the end. The output impedance of the function, Jenny, is about, I want to say 50 ohms. But it's enough to drive a speaker reasonably hard. Enough to find out if there's serious problems with it anyway. Oh, come on, get on there. Alright, crank the not super clean, but certainly not what we were hearing. Go on this one. Oh, that's our problem, child. So, one dickhead speaker. So that's what I first do on these amps, because I got bitten by one early on, probably 8 years ago or something. Did a full resto to the amp, recap and all of that. The guy loved it. He had it since he was a teenager, so he wanted it forever. I got it all finished, tested. I didn't think to test it through the cabinet speakers. I tested it through the test speaker and it was all sounding good. Put it back in the cab. I gave the cab a full clean as well. Put it back in the cab. Speaker was blown. So that just doubled the cost of the job. He was okay about it. He still wanted it anyway. I was like, are you sure, man? Like, these things, they're not really classic amps. But he was adamant. He wanted it. He wanted to go ahead with it, and all good. And I was like, who am I to say? So, sweet as. We went ahead with it. What I'll do now is detangle my leads. Now we'll check for DC on the output. How would the combined impedance affect the transformer? Or transformer? Solid state. Okay, so 50 millivolts, not the end of the world. So I think it's just a output stage failure, just a speaker failure on that one. However, that doesn't explain, well, no, I guess it does. So 2 ohms, I think that's probably a short to either itself or to the, what am I trying to say, the voice coil gap. so the coil's actually rubbing on the surround and it's shorting coils together basically. So that one would be copping most of the power because it's only providing like 2 ohms or whatever, and that's sucking all the power out of this one. So let's try it just plugged in to this one alone. Oh, sorry, B side. It's because I'm zoomed in. It's a Frontman 212R. So that's a solid state. I think they're 100 watt. So 50 milliamps. That's not going to blow the speaker. So let's plug just into that left-hand one and have a listen. If he wants to limp at home, he might just, if he's playing low volume, you could probably just run the single speaker. They're only 50 watt speakers reportedly. Let's take the job sheet off. So it was built in 2010. She's already chooched. Drive these things too hard though and they can blow the speakers, so radio. Not very interesting watching the top of an amp, me hiding between shit. Let's turn everything down a bit, fire it up, have a listen. Still no signal. Oh, hey, Jesus, that's signal. I think we just found what blew the speaker. Alright, so it's still got major problems. I'm probably going to call it on this one. I don't think it's worth repairing. Because as soon as I just tickled that channel switch, violent oscillation. I'm interested to have a look inside anyway. But I think it's going to exceed the budget. I'm going to have to throw a dart on this one and just say, look, it's got a blown speaker, it's got extra issues. You're probably looking around $300 in labour plus a new speaker. You're probably not going to go ahead, so I'll just give you that option now. And we don't have to waste our time. Yeah, I think that's the smart thing to do. Let's do that. Get rid of that one. Alright, let's break out all the gold here. Is Big Clive live yet? Nope. Just give it a spray. Does spraying things stop violent oscillation, does it? And blown speakers? If it did, I would be a millionaire, Kin-Disc. Alright, so we've got a keyboard amp here. It's a KB100 Fender. The interesting part, the disassembly amps. More screws. So this one apparently has problems with the input jack as well, and the power switch, a bit dodgy. We'll suss it out. I think I did quite a few repairs to this probably 2 or 3 years ago. It gets used on all their rehearsals, so gets a bit of a thrashing. It's one of those tricky combos where the speaker cable gets caught when you remove the chassis. Me hearty. Ah, it's got a reverb tank too. Just take a quick photo again. Alrighty. Oh, sorry, Peavey. I said Fender, didn't I? Peavey keyboard amp. So similar construction to the other one. It's got that Z channel for the heatsink. It's got those same connectors everywhere. Peavey Molexy type things that I don't think you can get anymore. They look pretty old school. Fuses are intact. No evidence of anything dramatic. Switch solder connections look okay. I think from memory this one had a blown op amp when it came in the first time. Just random failure. It's going back a while though, so I might be wrong. So let's plug the speaker into this one. This is a bit tricky because it's got your it's got an extension speaker output, does it? No. So we'll have to connect something to those 2 pins in order to go into our test speaker. So, how will we do that? Have to make another lead. No, we won't. That fit in there. Yep, that's alright. Put some alligator clips. I've got one that goes from banana plug to jack. So I'll just pop these on. Allows us access to the speaker terminals because it's an enclosed cabinet with the wires just poking out from a hole. So you'd have to remove the speaker to get access to it, to remove their little connector loomy thing, and I'm not doing that, so time is of the essence. Right, plug in the speaker. I don't know how I get so tangled up in stuff. Input that channel 1 to start with, to level down, set the EQ flat, and reverb down. Plug her in and have a go. A little bit of hum. 20 watts draw. Help if we turn the signal generator on. Got signal. Some kind of distortion happening there. Yeah, it's common to call it a chassis. People in different sides of the planet speak differently. I know it's hard to understand. Really, it's not that far. Everyone pulls me up on that, but it's not that far to say chassis, chassis, chassis. Like, you guys leave a whole fucking syllable out of aluminium, and we don't talk about it. Solder, what's that? Solder, S-O-L-D-E-R, not solder. So, like, do you want to start throwing stones or what? I know you're joking, it's alright. So I'm not seeing anything other than just a bit of a clean required. I'll just have a poke around. There was a bit of a step in volume there when we first turned it on, so power amp in and preamp out. So cutting the preamp out. Preamp out is not normaled. Power amp in is. So that contact could have been a little bit dirty as well, just moving it, because these jacks often don't get used at all. So they'll have the power amp in and the preamp out, and there's probably very few users that actually use them. So when you plug them in, it sort of cleans the contacts just by that action of plugging it in and out. If you never plug them in, oh look, we've got a fuckwit. Alright, let's block and ban him. It'd be great if YouTube worked. Fucking piece of shit. Right, let's try it the old-fashioned way, eh? I have to go on and remove someone, some Russian bot. View on YouTube. Hello, Russian bot. You're about to be executed. If you ever load. Okay, I think it's time for a new computer. Oh, right, let's try it. We've got feedback happening. Alright, so I'm on YouTube. Hide user on this channel. And message deleted. There we go. Alright. Back to it. So, Sutter here in southern US. Well, you know, I don't know why chassis is really the thing that pulls everyone up. Chassis, it's not that different. Anyway, I think we just need to give this thing a bit of a clean. Not finding anything dramatically wrong with it. We'll just check the dissipation again. Expect a couple of millivolts. 3.3, it's a bit colder than the last one. 3.8. Sweet. And that's the droppers for the regulator, 15 volt regulator. No movement around there. Spray it. Yeah. You sick of 1 kilohertz yet? So I'll give it a bit of a spray. Not using WD-40, please. In this case I'm using EML, Electro Lube Contact Cleaner and Lubricant. Don't use just contact cleaner either. That's meant for cleaning contacts, not moving parts. So this stuff's for cleaning things and leaving no residue and no lubrication. So it actually cleans lubrication off. Use that on a pot and now you've lost your lubrication, the pot's not going to last as long. Use WD-40 or something, and that's probably corrosive and it leaves a horrible schmoo on there that collects dust. This stuff leaves a non-silicon based, because I don't have silicon based stuff in my shop because I do what do you call it? Spray painting. So yeah, anything silicon based isn't allowed in my shop, polishes or whatever. So I use that. That leaves a very thin lubricant on the contacts of the pot, so on the wiper of the pot, so it doesn't wash it away. Coffee break. So I'll power it down because I don't want my fingers wandering around in that thing while I'm lubricating it. You always, in my experience, you cop shocks from real well, equipment that you wouldn't expect to, let's put it that way. Because you get complacent. When you're working on a friggin' SVT or something with a kilovolt in it, you're very aware that there's a kilovolt in it. Let's put it that way. Yeah, deoxid F5 is good too. I got some of that, but it costs $1 billion, so I saved that. It's technically meant for conductive plastic faders, not carbon track faders. So I could have either bought a dirt bike or get a couple of cans of Deox because they're about the same price. But yeah, that stuff's good. But yeah, it's meant for conductive plastic, so carbon. It's probably fine, but yeah, it's hard to find definitive information about this stuff being used for stuff that it's not specifically meant for. So as a liability thing, if it says only use on conductive plastic faders and controls, well, you know, if you only use it on conductive plastic faders and controls, you're pretty well in the clear, right? This stuff isn't as specific. WD-40 dissolves carbon, yeah. Does a lot of messed up stuff. It's another one of those like material solvents that's not really good at anything. It doesn't lubricate, it doesn't really clean. It supposedly displaces moisture, but really aren't there better ways of displacing moisture, like compressed air and heat, instead of ending up with schmoo all over everything? Just don't get it wet. Right, so got access down in there. Yeah, we can sort of get to the back of the pot, so give them a bit of a clean. Looks like there's a bit of crap on the back of them. I'll clean it with some alcohol first. Retread Ted, can I call you? Sounds like you should be called Ted. Where'd the retread name come from? curious. Oh yeah, the amp's a Peavey, Alan. You can tell. You can tell them from a mile away. Back when Peaveys were Peaveys and sheep were scared. A bit of crap off the back of the pots there. I'm not going to rinse them with solvent because you don't want to wipe out all the lubricant that's in there already. Just get a cotton bud on it though. It's a Peavey chassis. It's a Peavey. Alright, give them a hit. Give it a shake. Get all the good stuff back into it. Just gently. Don't want to soak them. Don't want to end up with shit all over the board either. Now this stuff is lubricant dissolved in a solvent, so the starts off really thin, and then the lubricant works its way in with the writing on the solvent, and then the solvent evaporates and leaves the lubricant behind. So it's a sneaky way of getting lubrication into areas that you don't have access to necessarily. Plug her in and have another go, eh? We investigate that power switch a bit too, see if it's a bit funky. I hope it's not a yeah, Alan, I've got to do that too. I hope it's not a day where there's no major faults and everything's just meh. I want to see some flames or something in something. Just doesn't feel right when there's no burns or shit stains and everything's just cleaning. Right, for the jacks, I've got little cleaner thingies. Where have I put them? Ah, there they are. They're actually where they're supposed to be. That's why I couldn't find them. X-Ray Tony B has a good video on pot cleaning. B-side. Honestly, if it doesn't respond to a basic clean, if it's a form factor, that's common, just put a new pot in it. I'm not pulling apart a pot, $1 pot, spending half an hour cleaning the thing. I'll just replace it. However, you do run into trouble with some obscure shit where you just can't get the parts. Giving it a chooch. It's even got little ones. It's meant for spray guns. You get these with spray gun cleaning kits and they cost nothing. They're like $12 for a spray gun cleaning kit, and this is just one of the tools. So it comes with all the different sizes, so you can use that on like the XLR pins, mic connector pins. It's worth buying spray gun cleaning kits just for this one tool. So we'll clean the XLR input, the single XLR input on channel 1, in case he's using a mic with it. We'll give that a good old-fashioned run. Just got to work that lube into it. Let's clean her up. So just cleaning a pot doesn't really do much. You got to cycle it back and forth so the wiper actually cleans its track. If it's really bad, you give it a blast with compressed air a few times and a few cycles of cleaning. There's also a phenomenon called tin whiskers, where the alloy grows little dendrites, little sort of crystal hairs sort of come off the alloy of the metal. It's like a metallurgical phenomena, and they are metallic hairs made out of tin, and they short things out. So because they are very fine hair, you can usually blast them clean with compressed air a few cycles. But that phenomenon is big problems for people like NASA and any critical sort of situation. They're still not 100% across how to stop it from happening. They do put additives with the alloys to stop it from triggering. Seems to be a bigger problem with lead-free solder, something to do with a different alloy. I think that's cleaned it up. Oop. Oh, it's pre-amp out. Duh. Clean the ones at the back? Not yet. Cold welding's another thing, yeah. When you're in the vacuum of space, there's no oxygen to oxidize metal once it forms a fresh layer. So things like aluminium, it's raw aluminium on the surface because there's no oxygen there to form a aluminium oxide, which is what protects aluminium. So I'm not a metallurgist, but I hear that, yeah, there's big problems with cold welding in the vacuum of space. When you bring two surfaces of very precision machined metal together, they want to become one piece of metal. There's like gauge blocks with the van der Waals forces and stuff. It's a whole field. Alright, well, I might put that one on test for a while and just make sure that switch is fine. We'll move on to the next one. Right, I shouldn't have said yes to this one. Don't forget the plugs that the alligator clips are on before reassembly. Yeah, I won't. I'll be right, mate. Where's the faith? Jesus. So this thing is a computer, not so much an amp. However, they're also very popular, unfortunately. So this one seems to be reacting okay. I'll just fire it up again and show you. Ooh, my package is coming today. Ooh, still get excited. hum from the speaker, so a little bit of hum. So output stage is probably working, but you got the count in there for the rhythm section. So this is like a band in a box sort of situation. No signal. No popping or clicking or anything, no rhythm section. So, no signal. But the computer appears to be cognizant, because otherwise we wouldn't get that flashing light with the tempo. So I'll have a quick look. We won't hold out much hope on this one. Problem with these is can't really even use them as a champ cabinet because the cutout's too big for all the extra bullshit in it. Oh, there's a half out screw. Was that me or was that someone else? No, there's another half out. Someone else has had a go. Uh-oh. Could just be a speaker forgotten to be plugged in. I've seen that before. Sun's coming up, shop's starting to heat up. We cop the morning sun in here, so the whole shop gets up to like 30 something degrees every morning. Good in winter, not so much in summer. I think I've got a schematic for this one. I'll have a look. Pop. Oh, can't be the speaker not being plugged in because we heard hum. Duh. Speaker's sitting at 6.2 ohms. It's about right for an 8 ohmer. No fire. So you got to remove the handles on this because they are load bearing screws. They go into the chassis. They go into the chassis. All the screws are reamed over. That's not a good sign. Oh, clonk. There it goes. Unplug the speaker. Slide her out. Go to pick it up by the handle I just undid. Jesus, I'm smart. Fuck it. It's the beauty of live streams, you see it all. So, like I said, they're a computer. So start from the start, I guess. You got your input right there. Well, let's zoom in a bit. We'll see if we can get a better light on it too. Yeah. So let's do a quick edit in case I feel like doing a big video of this. So, G-DEC. Oh, sorry, I've got to start properly. Ready? Champions! We've got a Fender G-DEC Jr. A little combo amp. This one is showing signs of life. The lights are on, but no one's home, so there's no signal. So just looking at the thing, it's basically a computer. Zoom in. And here's the DSP. It does all the sound effects and effect processing, as well as the tone generation, because it's basically a MIDI player as well. It's got a MIDI input on the back. You can feed a MIDI signal and it actually works like an instrument, like a tone generator. So people use these as like a backup band sort of thing for busking and whatever, you know, just small gigs and just tooling around. And it's got the sort of band in a box set up on the front, so you can set Different styles of loop. They're pretty funny to listen to, actually. You can choose what key you want it in, which is a bit fancy, and what tempo it is, and then that loop has got its own volume control, and then this up the top is the guitar section. So that's your gain, volume, tone, amp modeling, and then effects for the guitar. So it's like a little band in a box setup, meant for, you know, practice amp and just tooling around at home. But yeah, so this has got a Texas Instruments DSP. It's got your operating system down here. It's got the sticker on it, version 1. You've got your input here, input circuitry there. You've got, I believe that there is probably the MIDI circuit. It's got its own crystal. DSP's got its own crystal. It's got local regulation down here. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to get too deep into this. So essentially, there's no signal at all. So we're probably looking at an output stage failure of some description. Looking at the chips, no burnt holes or anything. No, nothing's flown off the output devices. That's them down there. So you've got a 7805 regulator there, which just voltage regulator, and then you've got a TDA 2050 output chip. So that's a monolithic Class AB amplifier. So what we might do is just give it a bit of power. I'll see if I can just find the schematic, and we'll see that just the right voltages are getting to the right places first, and then we'll go from there. Alright, break time, coffee. So what time is it everywhere, people? It's 7:43 here, AM. I like starting early. You get to do silly videos. I started wearing my watch. Just wood. It's a watch made out of wood. Rosewood. And metal, of course. But yeah, I started using the timer on it to time me doing jobs. But it got depressing, so I stopped. Anyway, let's just keep these terminals apart. We'll give it some juice. I might just prop this thing up so I can probe around without it moving. Just get me wicked timber blocks. There we go, nice and sturdy. Might just connect the speaker again so we can test it if we need to. (6:43 AM in Brisbane. Wish I was in Brizzy. Gold Coast was the last place I went before the lockdown, second lockdown. We got back like the week before it started. See my mate at Main Beach. You from Alabama, B-side? Sick. I thought you're from the UK for some reason. Oh, you're in Hawaii? Fuck you. Love to be in Hawaii. I can reach just. Right, so we're drawing 14 watts. What? see if we can make smoke come out. Where's a convenient earthing point? Central Mississippi. And I don't think I'd bother going anywhere in the US except Mississippi, Tennessee, fuck New York, fuck LA. I want to go where the good music's at. Plus I know more people there than anywhere else. Right, yeah, let's have a look for a schematic. I'm not going to share my screen because I'm not showing you where I'll find them. I might get in trouble. Where are we? Documents. Must have deleted it. Isn't this fascinating, watching me look for schematics. Version 2, that's version 1. No, that ain't it. There it is. G-DEC Jr. Oh, we may as well do a desk share, eh? No one's watching anyway. Alright, can you hear me? Can you see that? Yep, you can see that. You can see the schematic. Cool. Oh, hang on. Alright, we're back. So, power supply, let's start there. That's our mains in. Depending on what transformer you got, primary winding, that's the internal fuse there, all that's good. Red, yellow, red, brown, brown, so that's our different windings. So P7, P5, P6, P7, P5, P6, that's our bipolar supply there. And then it's got another supply which is for the computery things. So it's got 11.2 volts. It's funny, it says 11.5 there, 11.2 there. Then you've got your 5 volt regulation, which goes to all your computery chooches. Right. So we know the computery chooches are good because it's blinking at us. So let's check our bipolar supply. So what do we got here? Where's a convenient point to measure it? R14, R13. Where are you at? This is a bit where you get to look at my bald head. R14, R13. So they're big 5 watters. So what voltage we got there? A minus 12.6. We've got 12.8. So that's on that side. The other side, got minus 21.5. And I can't get to the other one. But yeah, that's the regulation happening there from the Zenas 1N5349s. So we've got voltage there. We'll just check. Just check the 5 volt lines happy. 10 volts going in. 5.009 volts coming out. It's getting really hot in here. I'm putting the aircon on. So I recently had one of these where is a restart. The 7805 on the left looked a little toasty on camera. It looks fine. Must just be lighting, man. Sweet as. I had one recently where there's a Watchdog power reset supervisor chip, and that had failed. And that is where? Next page. Right, so just check this out. So you've got all your processors and stuff there. I'll just go to the hand view. Yep, panning. That's your DSP chip. You've got your SRAM. And your PROM. Your PROM's the one with the program on it. Programmable read-only memory. And then that's the memory for the DSP to do its magic. And you've got all your control panel circuitry, and you've got this little reset chip down here. This little bugger. So I had issues with no signal due to that constantly being in reset, so not allowing the computer to start. But again, we're getting flashing lights, so that wouldn't be the problem, because that means the computer thinks it's doing something good. So we've got our DSP chip. Sorry, what am I trying to say? DA. Digital to analog converter. DAC. Jesus. More coffee required. So that there, CS, that's probably Cirrus Logic, 4271. I've got a stereo output. So let's scope to see if there's any signal there when we give it sine wave input. If there's no signal there won't be any anywhere, man. So pin 27, 26, 25, 24 on U13. So where's U13? There it is. Let's have a look. We'll try not to short anything out in the process. So there's a tiny little chip next to that DSP there. Try and move this along without dropping it. Oop. There we go. So we'll grab our scope probe. Roby McProbe face. Turn the signal jetty on. What? Got signal now. Fading in and out. Very glitchy. Okay, so all of a sudden we're getting signal. And the plot thickens. It's not good sounding signal, but it's signal. Just have to be careful here, not short anything out. Ooh. Okay, so there's something funny going on here. Now we're getting signal. Okay, so what's happened? That just makes me laugh. Oh, fuck. Let's see how fast it goes. It's like, I don't don't know what we disturbed there. Could have just been sketchiness on the speaker terminals, maybe. No. Oops, faded out again. Something is amiss in the output stage. It's still distorting there. What's metal do? Yeah. Alright, so that there is the tuner. It provides, if you press the button, a note to tune to by ear. I'm guessing it just gives you an E. Alright, so that's all working fine. So let's investigate the preamp. So we've disturbed something and made it work again, so we've got to find out what we disturbed, basically. Let's plug in, because I don't want to listen to 1 kilohertz until I die. Yeah, she's an amp that you sort of wonder why you took in. But curiosity gets the better of me and I want to know what's wrong. Whether or not I'll make any money. Hang on. Another weird one. Well, I think we're going to have to look at it with a microscope and see if there's any bad solder joints, because seems to be working fine now and we don't know what changed. It's the joy of repair. Jesus. Very bottomy. Bypass. See what the tone's like. Hot rod. That's my tremolo springs ringing out. There's a bit of funniness happening in the background, like it's just a bad connection somewhere. Oh, let's do Polka Metallica. That's a shit rhythm. That's too fast. Stop. Southern rhythm, hang on. It's fucking hopeless. Enough of that. So, another we don't know what the hell is going on repair. Awesome. Now I'll have a closer look later and see if we can find a cracked solder joint or some such behaviour. So I'll clear the deck a bit. Stash the hardware. So, what are we all up to today? It's Friday. This week's been really pretty much a write-off in Australia because we had Australia Day. Which is the usual celebration of colonialism that is pretty controversial. I just think of it as a day off. So that was on Wednesday, Australia Day, and most companies just stayed shut all week because Monday, Tuesday's on. Half the people are still on holidays until after Australia Day anyway, and everyone just calls it a dead loss, and most of the companies shut down all week. No, I don't think Clive's going to come here, mate. He's too important for us. Yeah, I know it's Thursday there. That's how it works, mate. Well, you Yanks are back in yesterday. So what do we want next? Do we want tube or solid state? Let's have a poll. How do I do that? I probably can't do it. So I'm using OBS, and it's pretty limited in what you can do. if you're just going, just like I said, raw dogging it straight to straight into YouTube, it's fine. But then you can't have multiple camera views and stuff. Live chat. Oh, Clive's live now, is he? Ah, man. No, I'm gonna keep going anyway because I'll jump in his stream later on. Oh, that sounded wrong. So we want valve, tube and tube. Well, okay, that's 3 to none, so valve it is. You just want to watch me break my back, don't you? I'll put that one aside then. It's gonna suck. Jesus. It's the red knob. Oh. There we go. Is it gonna fit? You can't even see it. What was the point of that? Oof. So it's the twin. The red knob twin. I just gotta push my hernia back in. So this one, various issues. Last one of these I did was about 800 bucks. Had a lot of bad mods done to it. A lot of just really shoddy work. So a lot of the labour was reversing that, but it also needed a full recap. Lots of drifted components, lots of dry solder joints, and new set of valves and all of that. So yeah, I'm not sure this is what they refer to when they call it the evil twin. I have to brush up on my history there. I thought the evil twin was the master volume blackface thing with the skirted knobs. I could be wrong. But yeah, the last one, when we finished it, sounded amazing. And it certainly didn't beforehand. So I think they're worth doing, and you can make them good. And was it Johnny Greenwood from Radiohead had one, and everyone wants them for that now because all the 90s kids are starting to actually have some money, so they're buying the amps that their heroes used to use. So we'll crack it open, we'll have a look, and we'll try and come up with some kind of quote to provide the customer before we go ahead, because I dare say at this age she's probably going to need a little bit of work. So we'll whack the chassis out, so you're going to look at the side of an amp for a little while. Nice and boring, but it's got to be done. That's what live streams are for. There you go, Tolex. How's that for a background screen? Right. At least you can see my pretty face. How about I make myself bigger for a minute? No, too hard. So all the valves seem intact. No white getters or anything. Screwdrivers are right where I can't reach them. Oh, just got dust in my eye. I wonder, do you want to do some real Inception type shit? Let's go to Big Clive. And we'll stream Big Clive's stream from my stream. Oh, let's do it. Crap in my eye. Oh, let's stream Big Clive's stream from my stream. Here we go. You can watch Big Clive. It's can you turn on desktop audio? Hi Clive. Let's talk to Clive. Hi Clive. I can't even hear him. Oh, he's muted. There we go.
Top loader.
I can hear him now.
My old place, and, well, my mum's house.
My mum's house.
Man, she got another one, but they always had the same problem. The tiny little 240 volt motor used to burn out in the.
We used to burn out. Oh, the speaker jack's loose.
I couldn't mechanical one, and my
mum
didn't give me a chance to get a replacement motor.
Yeah.
She
That's enough of that. Back to me. He's talking about top loaders. Fascinating. Honey Clive, eh? What, I'm frozen? Ah, fuck's sake. Ah, can you hear me? Looks like the stream's gone to shit. Can you hear me at all? Audio yes, video no. Okay, let me see if I can address that. He rants about everything, eh? Love his rants. I love a good rant in general. Alright, is the video still bugged? Oh, it looks like it's trying to come back. Look, I'll just get this chassis out and then we'll look at it. Oh, come on. Release the shmoo. Ah. It's alright, there's not a lot to see right now anyway, eh? It's just me battling with a heavy amp. Doing battle. We will fight the one beaches. Get out! Oh, there's been some hackery. Oh, there's been some hackery. Oh, fuck. Alright, get rid of the cabinet and I'll look at what's going on with this video. Oh, I need to go to the gym this week. Alright, it looks like it's streaming still. It looks like there's no drop frames. I think my processor's probably just overrun. Alright, how are we looking now? Is there video now? I'll have a look on my phone. Oh, I gotta watch my own ad. That's good, isn't it? It's an ad for the Gilded Age. Alright, it looks like there's a bit of a delay, but it looks like it's streaming. Video's back. Alright. It's a fair big delay there though. Alright. Let's get the blocks out. Oh. There's some road rage out on the street. Alrighty. Got another bot, have we? VO, I'm gonna go. Come on, Streamlabs, you can do it. Let's see if I can delete someone from here. Honestly, this app's pretty useless. I don't know. It's all back in sync. Look at that. Hey, so you can't delete comments in OBS. You'd think you'd be able to, eh? Anyway. Rightio. So you can hear stuff rolling around. Little segments of resistor, that's good. We're hunky dory. Oh my god, this computer is fucked. Right, so first thing I noticed, let's try to get rid of this bot, sorry. I shut the browser down, now I've got to open it up again. Live at workbench. Alright bot, your time has come. Your time is gonna come. Okay bot, you go bye bye. Hide user on this channel. There you go, see you later. Okay, I need a new laptop. Can you guys buy me a new laptop? It'd be alright, wouldn't it? I'll move me down a bit. Okay, here you go. Alright. Right, so, champions. A Fender, the Twin. Say hello to the red knob. Not just me, the amp. So the first thing I notice, get my little pointery McPointer face. This resistor here is breaking down. These two form a resistive divider to drop the voltage down for the preamp nodes. They overheat and they lose the ceramic infill heats up and falls out. And a bit of vibration in with the mix as well. Last time I replaced them with, one was a 2.7, one was a 30k, yep, 2.7. I replaced them with these little buggers. Pretty low mass, high quality resistors. As for the 30k, I don't think I had any spare. Oh yeah, no, I got some spares of them too. Sweet, from the last one of these I did. So there's a 10 watt, nice quality ohmite 30k as well. And that amp's still going strong after a year and a bit. So someone has been in there. Let's just check before we go fingering the amp. Let's just check that there's no residual voltage. Do the old yeah, the comment was deleted because I deleted it. It just took a minute or so because my computer is slow as frig. If the boy's talking about hot single mums in my area, let it stay. Been there, done that. So let's set our multimeter to volts and just check out. Well, let's check big caps first. 0 volts. 0 volts. Now, if you want to be 100% sure, put the leads over the actual terminals of the cap. I can find my black lead. There it is. So we're on DC volts. Check the actual caps. 0 volts, 0 volts, 0 volts, 0 volts, 0 volts, dodgy, shittily installed cap, 0 volts. Everything's 0, we're fine. And it's not plugged in. Just double check that. When I'm inspecting an amp like this, I'll roll up its cable just to keep it neat. And just sit it next to the amp where it's visible so you know that it's not plugged in. The more complacent you get about it, the more assumptions you make, you end up getting in trouble. You buy me a lap dance. Who says that's cheaper? Take one look at me and charge triple. So the second thing I noticed after the resistors is this cap installation. So yes, axial caps one day will be probably impossible to get, or extremely expensive and specialized, but at the moment we're not at that point yet. And this guy has used a photo flash capacitor, which looks to me, I've never heard a capacitor being sold as a photo flash capacitor, so I dare say this idiot's probably pulled it from a disposable camera. Joy! So that's the most hacky thing I can find in here. Everything else looks pretty stock. And I don't think that's a showstopper. It's very, very poorly done. Probably one of the worst. So I think we can take a few measurements with the amp turned off and just determine possibly if there are any other showstoppers like the output transformer, etc., and just go over the thing in the process, look for cracked solder joints. Most of them happen in this area. Sorry, zoom out. Most of them happen in this area because of the heat generated by these resistors, and it affects the solder joints underneath. That board is removable. It's not, everyone whinges about these amps, but they're not that bad to work on. Honestly, Mesa Boogie's are way worse, and they're worth 10 times as much. So these IC caps retread, I think this was before they sourced that absolute shit bunch, and
look, I'd be quoting for, no, there is some leakage on these ones too. I'll be quoting for a full recap of these anyway, as a resto of this amp, because I can't trust the old caps with the job that I've done, because if they blow up and it comes back, well, it's my fault because I repaired it within 12 months, or, well, it's supposed to be 3 months the warranty, but in the customer's mind it can be 3 years and they still want it repaired for free. So I'd rather not deal with it. I kind of want to go all out or go home, you know, go hard or go home. Is that it? I don't know, whatever. That music guy, I know who you are. Still got the old channel set up, mate. Is this the troll account? So yeah, you know all about these ones. You love them. But yeah, this one's not too bad an example. It's reasonably neat and tidy. No massive hackage done. And this guy, by virtue of his laziness, he's probably done less damage than if he tried to do it properly. Looking at the quality of work up here, he's just snipped leads off of the pre-existing capacitor. Well, we can see one capacitor's failed, so the others will shortly follow, right? So if he pulled the board and tried to do this properly, he probably would have done damage to the bottom of the circuit board, but because he hasn't touched the factory solder joints underneath, the circuit board, aside from this area, is probably in reasonably good condition. We can have a quick look at that though, because all the wires come off this side, so we can flip it up and have a quick look just by undoing the 4 screws. Maybe we've got to snip a cable tie or two, but you know, if that's the most we've got to do, that's pretty good. Yeah, they'd be coming out B-side. I wouldn't be doing the job without replacing them. But all I'm saying is there seems to be an era that Fender had a really bad run of IC caps. And outside that era they seem to be shit, but not mind-blowingly shit. You're not lazy. Can I call you by your real name? Or is it a secret? And as for crappy cap installation and 6, oh no, I just said it. I've seen it all, man. I've seen a section of extension lead, like appliance, like extension lead, like grey wire like that. It was snipped off, probably about a foot long. It tack soldered to the circuit board on one end, and then it tack soldered to a cap that was just floating around in the chassis on the other end. That was probably the best one I've seen yet, and of course that was on a Messer as well, dual caliber 20. He paid the Messer tax big time on that one. Alright, so you can see all of the burn damage done to that area. So essentially those components are just nowhere near far enough off the circuit board to allow adequate airflow, and they're kind of not the best way of doing it anyway. You don't need a resistive divider to power the preamp circuit. You just need to consider the circuit as the bottom resistor of the divider, and then have a suitable resistor at the top of it, instead of having to stiffify the supply with high power resistors. You can just allow it to flex a little bit, and just don't power the thing up with no valves in it, because you'll overrate the electrolytic capacitors. But that's how the majority of amp manufacturers make it. They have droppers in a string like a ladder, going down to each preamp node, and as the less voltage is required, you just have more droppers and you change their value. Near enough's good enough. It's a valve amp, you know. So yeah, they're usually round values like 100k, 10k, oh yeah, 10k, 22k, 33k. They're sort of pretty standardized values, and then you consider that the top, when you see a dropper resistor, consider that the top resistor of a resistive divider, and the bottom resistor of the resistive divider is just the circuit that you're powering. That has the side effect that if there is no load on the bottom, then that each node will sit at the full B+. So say you've got 350 volt, what are these at? They're all 500 anyway, so it's not the end of the world. But say you've got, in your first preamp nodes, you've got 350 volt capacitors, you'd be overrunning them a fair bit. If you took the valves out, then there'd be no load, so it'd be floating at 480 or whatever the B+ is, and that could damage the caps. So anyway, where was I? I think we can take a few measurements on this. I reckon I could throw a dart at it. I reckon that will probably power up. I might just change out that one cap and just have another look at the job sheet and see what the description was of the fault. And we might gingerly fire the thing up and see what's going on and just come up with a quote. In the meantime, I'll just check the screen grids because they're carbon comps. .466, that's good. 482 within tolerance. 476. 469. So they're all within spec. I'll probably replace them anyway because they're carbon comp. It's not a great screen grid resistor. They're only 2 watters. Probably put 5 watters back in there. And full recap. I think if we charge enough labour to cover all of that and just add a little margin on top, say another 20%, we should be able to cover any preamp valves or weird noise or anything that's happening. And I'll just check the speakers and all of that as well as usual, and we'll go from there. But yeah, not a horror show, so that's good. Alright, what next?